BookTube, it's Becky from Becky Writes. This is Becky Reads, and this is a Tome Topple midpoint check-in. Now, the midpoint for Tome Topple was actually on Friday, and this is gonna go up on Sunday, so happy Easter for those of you who are celebrating. But I was feeling really under the weather Friday and Saturday. I was fighting a cold that I got, and it just wasn't letting me go, so I'm a little bit late. It happens. I really wanted to do a check-in for Tome Topple because it is a 2-week-long readathon, and it's been an interesting 2 weeks for me. I've actually read a lot of books since the readathon started, but only like 2 technically qualify, a 3rd one might qualify, and then I read 2 other books that didn't qualify at all, but I read them anyway because I don't know what's wrong with me, but apparently like I don't read books that meet readathon requirements because I'm a renegade or something, I don't know. So the first book I completed during Tome Topple was Jane Steele by Lyndsay Faye. This is a reread for me, and it does not qualify because it's only like 400 and some pages, so it doesn't qualify, but I did read this during Tome Topple. I don't know, I just really wanted to read something that was familiar and comforting. It was one of my anxiety things is when I'm really anxious, I don't like to deal with new things. I like to go to things I already know. So I read Jane Steele again. It was 5 out of 5 stars. I'll talk more about it in the monthly wrap-up, but I did technically read this during Tome Topple even though it doesn't count. So this is one of the ones that does not count. The other one that I read that doesn't count was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now I did a spoiler-free review of this, so I'll link it down below in case you're curious about my thoughts, but I read this because the other books I wanted to read for Tome Topple are in this series. Both the second book, A Gathering of Shadows, and the third book, A Conjuring of Light, are over 500 pages, so this was going to be getting me into that series, and so I actually read this book during Tome Topple, even though it too is less than 500 pages. I am a glutton for punishment. I don't know what's wrong with me. Then I finished a book that wasn't in that series, but does count for Tome Topple, and that was A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is probably the like 5th or 6th time I've read this book. I've read the whole trilogy twice. I've read the first and second books a couple of different times. I really love it. I just love the characters in here. I think it's so smart. I think the science and the magic in here flow perfectly. It is a vampire book for people who want more critical engagement and want something smart and not like silly paranormal. I know that a lot of people have strong opinions about the relationship because Matthew, the love interest, is very protective and in some ways domineering, but I think it's really well addressed because they're talking about the pack mentality and there's always similarities to wolves, and like Diana, the female love interest, is like, I understand this is how you are, but also no sir, and they explore that throughout the series, and so I really appreciate that. I love this book, and I have no doubts that I'll be rereading it again and again and again. You can tell that my paperback copy is kind of beat up. I might actually have to buy this in hardback just because I read it so often. It was 5 out of 5 star read for me. This is over 500 pages. It is 579 in the paperback edition, and that does not include the acknowledgements. This also fulfills 2 of the Tome Topple readathon reading challenges, which is to read a book in a series, this is the first in the trilogy, and to read an adult fiction, and this is an adult fiction. So 2 of the challenges are complete with this one. I'm not trying to complete all the challenges, so it's okay with me if those are the only 2 I complete, but I have this one. So I have completed 1. So I fulfilled the readathon goal, was to read 1 book over 500 pages, and I did that with A Discovery of Witches. Now, I have another book that might count, and this is one where you guys can give me your feedback. I read the biography of Alexander Hamilton by Chernow, and this is the biography that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda. Tomorrow I'll be doing a whole conversation about my thoughts on having seen the Hamilton show, having read the Hamilton biography, and just my thoughts about that whole thing in general. I started it technically before Tome Topple started, and I got about 150 pages in, but the book was 800 pages long, or just shy of, so I read more than 500 pages during Tome Topple. So my question is, does it count since I technically started a couple of days beforehand? I think that because I read more than 500 pages of a book, it should count. That's my thoughts, and I did finish it during Tome Topple, but I want to know what you guys think, if it technically can count. I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I will talk about it more when I do a wrap-up, but if you are someone who is a Hamilton fan, if you're Hamil trash, as I am Hamil trash, this is such a good biography. Now, it gets into a lot of the nitty-gritty and, like, the banking system and the infighting of politics. I have a degree in early American history. I am a history wonk when it comes to everything colonial and early America. I think it's fascinating. I think it's way more interesting than history classes make it out to be. And the actual end of Hamilton's life is even more dramatic than the play. Burr is even more of a villain. In fact, I think that Lin-Manuel Miranda was quite generous with his depiction of Burr, because Burr is straight up like all he wants is power. He like wants to conquer Mexico and start scheming with the British. He's a bad dude. And it's really interesting. Now, there's so many pieces I want to point out, and I'm going to point it out in my video that's going to go up tomorrow. I do want to say that if you love Hamilton and you like history, this is a really engaging biography. I listened to it as an audiobook because I tend to like memoirs and biographies that way, and I really enjoyed it. But if you do not like the nitty-gritty of history, if you do not like hearing about, you know, the letters and hearing the insights of the actual founding fathers, if that's something that would be boring to you, you may not like it. But it was almost 800 pages. I read, what, 650 of those 800 pages during Tome Topple. I think it should count. I'm counting it as a book that I finished. So technically I finished 2 if you count the Hamilton biography. The last book that I'm working on is A Gathering of Shadows. Somehow during my trip back east, I lost the dust jacket to my copy of A Gathering of Shadows. I am 120 pages in, and I took a break because I was reading on the plane. And here's my thoughts about this so far. I'm really enjoying the world. I really love Lila Bard. I want Lila Bard and Inej from the Six of Crows duology to create a girl power Wonder Twins epic. Can someone make that into a graphic novel adventure? I don't know. Lee Rodrigo, V.E. Schwab. I don't know if you watch these, but make that happen. Seriously, that would be awesome. But one of the things I'm finding is that for me right now, what I want is books that are kind of comforting. I think I've had a lot of anxiety that has gone on because of world events, and reading about a world that is literally falling to pieces does not give me any comfort. And that's why I went back and I had rereads. I read Jane Steele and I read Discovery of Witches, because even though there's a lot of terror and trial and difficulty in those books, I know it's coming, so I'm not constantly anxious. And I felt it in the first book, and I certainly feel it in this book. This moves slower. It's a lot more about character development and world building. And I'm curious. I know this ends on a cliffhanger, so I've been kind of putting this off a little bit. But my goal is to finish this one before the end of Tome Topple, so I have about a week to get through this one. I don't think I'll be finishing A Conjuring of Light before the end of this week, but I don't know. Who knows? I might read another book completely, because that is my life. So I've read a stack of books during the days of Tome Topple. I mean, I technically completed the readathon when I read A Discovery of Witches, so I really like that this is a little bit less intense. It gets you encouraged to read some of the bigger books. Not that I've been reading new ones, because I don't know. Comment down below and let me know how you're doing if you've participated in the Tome Topple readathon. How's it going? Have you finished a book? Have you taken a break from a book? Are you making your way through? Have you read something that doesn't even qualify just because you wanted to? Because, I mean, I clearly did that. Also, comment down below and let me know if you reread books when you're anxious. That is something I know that I do. I reread 2 of my favorite books for comfort, and I just love them. And I could go back and reread them again right now, and I would still get something out of it, because I am a great rereader. So let me know if that's something that you guys do, because maybe it's me, but maybe there are others. Maybe I'm not completely weird. I hope you guys are all doing well. For those of you who are celebrating Happy Easter, for those of you who are celebrating Passover, Passover Samayach, I think is how you say the Passover. Anyways, happy Passover. For those of you who are not celebrating either of those, happy spring. May you have a beautiful day. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye!